There are major 7 arithmetic operators. The first one is addition. So as you can say 2 plus 2. Also you can write 2 and 2 dot say 3. Now you will see on the left we had a whole number and on the right we have a float value. So by default it will do the intrinsic type conversion. We are going to cover type conversion in more details, but for now please understand that even if the two data types are compatible like integer and a fraction, the decimal, then the Python will add them up and the final value would be with the higher precision. So between float and integer it will convert it into float. Similar thing is applicable for subtraction. So if you give 3.0 minus 2, the value would be 1.0. That means it has converted between float and the integer. It has converted the final answer to be the float. Similarly, you can just write yourself division or multiplication. Floor division, which is quotient. So for example, if you floor divide 5 with 2, then the quotient would be 2. If suppose it would have been 50, then the quotient would have been 25. The modulo gives the remainder. So for example, if you will use 50 and then you will use modulo operator, so simply use 50 mod 2. Now because 50 is an even number, the remainder would be 0. Now there is a special case. If you are using a modulus on a negative number, let's understand this with an example. Suppose you give 5 mod 3, then we know that the remainder would be 2. But say if rather than 5 it would be minus 5, then what do you think the output would be? 1. Isn't it strange? Let's see why so. Rather than minus 5, read it as 1 minus 2 into 3 and then mod 3. Now what I'm doing here is just think that it is a scale and then the step sizes are 3 each. So when you start from 0 and when you are moving towards left, the first step would be from 0 to minus 3 and then the next stage would be from minus 3 to minus 6. So between minus 6 and minus 5, the delta is 1. That's why the output is 1 here, right? Next, let's cover the exponential. Exponential means to the power of. So if you have a number which you want to give a power of, for example, you have 10 and then you want to say 10 to the power 2, then the value would be 100, as you can see here, right? If you want, and if you would have given 3, then it would have been 1000. Oops, sorry. Yeah. Now if you want to give roots, for example, rather than squaring it, if you want to do the square root of it, then you have to simply say you have 100 and you want to square root, then you can say 1 by 2, just like how we will do, and then the value would be 10, right? Now if there are multiple statements, arithmetic statements, and you are not very sure which one would be executed, then you can follow the normal BODMAS rule. First thing, it will always start with the brackets with this parenthesis. Next, it will go with the exponential. After that, modulo division and multiplication. And after that, the execution will take addition or subtraction in their priority. Now, between modulo division and multiplication, the level execution would go from left to right. Same thing would be applicable in case of addition or subtraction. Let's take this through an example. So suppose you have multiple statements. So first of all, it will always start with the parenthesis, right? Now within that, say you have 25 plus 70 plus 5, and then you have say 30 divided by 3. What do you think the output would be? So on the left side, first it will start with the parenthesis. So parenthesis 1 and 2, this will be executed. After that, division will get executed and then you will see the output. So let's say on the right hand side, the parenthesis value would be 30 divided by 3 would be 10, and on the left it would be 100. So 100 divided by 10 should be 10. Let's see this, right? Between modulo, multiplication and division, let's take this example. So let's say I'm giving 3 and then exponential 2 mod 2. So in this case, the execution will, because it's exponential, it will always take precedence over modulo, multiplication and division. Thus, 3 to the power 2, which is 9, will get executed first, and 9 mod 2 would be 1. Now, rather than this, if you would have given, say, 3 to the power 2, and then rather than say mod 2, you would have given division 2. Even then, the execution would remain the same. First, it would be 3 to the power 2, which is 9, then divided by 2, which would be 4.5, right? Now, between the same category, the sequence would be left to right. So, for example, if you write 15 divided by 5, and then say mod 2. Now, in this case, the sequence will start from the left, which is 15 divided by 5, 3, and then 3 mod 2 would be 1. But suppose rather than this, if first you would have given mod and then you will give the division, then the sequence will simply start with left again, and 15 mod 5 would be 0, 0 divided by 2 would be 0, right? If you want to change the sequence, suppose you want 5.2 to be executed first, then you know what to do. Just use parenthesis. So say 15 and then say you have mod, but keep parenthesis on the right and then say 5 divided by 2. So in this case, 5 divided 2 is 2.5. 15 mod 2.5 would be 0. I mean, the output is same, but the logic is this time 5 divided by 2 will get executed first. Now with that, let's move on with the assignment operators.